Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. And I am so excited to have Ali back on because her podcast brought some other people tears with how much they resonated with what she had to say and what we had to say. Because the truth is, it usually feels good and it usually feels like it's working, but it like what it feels and what it is are two separate things. And this can be related to the way that you train, the way that you are embarking on a dieting journey, just anything in general. And that's kind of what we are going to be talking about today. But the first thing that I want to talk about is the goals that we set for ourselves and the outcomes we want to achieve, because we usually base them in a mindset that's, I really hate where I am right now. I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that. So they're kind of extreme, or they're based on what we think we should be doing and what other people put up onto social media, which these days everyone's doing some type of bodybuilding show. But like, I put a post on this the other day, and it's the fact that when you see these before and afters and they're so drastic, it's like, I want that. Now I want to do that. But you don't really know what it takes to get there. And you're not thinking from a logical place. Now, Ali and I, we can both fall for the same thing easily and want to get that shredded and want to get on stage. But if you actually think about it, it's a waste. I think it's amazing, yes, if you're getting paid for it, but it's a waste of so much life stuff. It's a whole load of money, of emotions, of sacrificing family events, the fact that it's a set date and you are not in control of changing that, which is kind of what we're going to talk about first, which is why Ali chose a photo shoot and why I myself would choose a photo shoot over comp, and the importance of being really clear on what it takes to get to those levels, as well as what is it you actually want and what's realistic for your lifestyle. Because Jenny Doe down the street probably doesn't even want to do what you did for a photo shoot, because you took it to like almost comp extremes for a photo shoot. Like, there are different levels, and yeah, I'll let you introduce it with that.
Yeah. First of all, did people really cry over our last episode? I don't want to make people cry.
Actually had a couple of people, one of them listened to it 3 times, saying the same thing, because she's like, this is so me, this is so me. So it does mean a lot when you reach out to us and say how much the episodes touch you, because it's why we do it, it's why I do it. Yeah. It's why Ali does her own, because we see the same messages over and over again, and it's so hard to break free from that. When you do start to break free from that, you put yourself back into the same old environment and start believing the same old shit over and over again.
It's hard to fall into that, because again, like, if this is not what you do for a living, then you don't know the difference between what's true and what's not when it comes to things like before and afters and the way people market their coaching. So I will only put up before and afters when there's been an appreciable amount of time spent between the two, because I don't want to sway people the wrong way. I don't want them to get the impression that stuff like this can happen really quickly. But, past the physical, I like to comment also the mental transition and what it took to get to wherever the next photo was. And quite often there's maybe 6 months at the least difference between those two photos. And I primarily coach men, and men fall for a lot of the same stuff that we women fall for. They just don't vocalize it. They don't talk about it. They just want to know, how do I get there? And they want the path to there. And a lot of them do the cutting calorie, adding cardio, cutting more calories. What drugs can I take? What supplements can I take to get to where I want to quicker? And we all want it quicker. And the trouble with choosing a show, like, I would say I compare it to any sport you want to play. If you want to play a sport recreationally, just for fun, understand that's exactly what you're going to get out of it. It's a good time. You're going to enjoy the community behind it, the process in training for it. If you want to play pickup soccer, rec soccer, or any sport. Same with bodybuilding. Now, I would not call bodybuilding a sport or doing a show a sport. Many people would disagree with me, but it's kind of more like a pageant where you're in the gym, you're training for that. But if you're not going to go to compete to win, understand that it's just going to be something you're going to do as a hobby or a recreational thing. And I think that the impression that people will either place or maybe win is a little bit foggy because of what they see on social media. And quite often there's a difference between doing a natural show, which you can do if you are on absolutely nothing or even hormone replacement, or you have the NPC and the other organizations that show much bigger physiques, that show people who have been at this for a very long time. And I have clients who have done natural shows and NPC shows, and it's quite the commitment. And as you had mentioned earlier, you do have to sacrifice a lot. And I think that hard date is tough because if you've never competed, you're like, oh, there's a show local to me and 4 of my friends did this show. I want to do the same one because then my friends and family can come and watch me. Well, the problem with that is usually that show's like in 5 or 6 months. And that may not be enough time to get somebody ready. Or if they're hell-bent on doing that one show date, they may have to take very drastic measures to meet the look that they're going for that show. And those measures may not be sustainable at all, or they may have a very hard rebound effect where with a photo shoot, you can be flexible because photographers understand that people change things and maybe the weather doesn't cooperate and stuff like that. So I personally set to do a photo shoot shortly after my wedding, which was August 2021. You know, my coach, Luke. Luke's like, yeah, we should do a photo shoot because I was getting really lean, like the leanest I'd ever been. I was like, yeah, this would be cool. I dieted very hard for my wedding, as you know. And after I was like, yo, I am shot. And we had to take like a 2-month diet break and revisit the concept of a shoot. And yeah, maybe we'll do it around Christmas. Christmas came. Everyone in the world was getting Omicron. Everyone was sick. So I ended up getting sick shortly after Christmas and moved the shoot to January. And then I had moved it to February. And then I moved it again to March just because all these life things kept coming up. And I was really happy that I was able to move it to March because had I tried to meet a hard deadline in December, my body probably would not have responded. I wouldn't have looked the way I wanted. I would have been upset and depressed and felt like shit, and then have to deal with the ramifications of a very, very hard crash. Now, it's not to say that I dieted very hard for this other shoot. I did a lot of extreme things, but there's still another level that I can get to of leanness and muscularity for a next shoot. But I also went into this other one understanding what it would take to get there. Like I wouldn't be able to celebrate Christmas for a whole week, but for a day, sure. So that was kind of my mindset in planning a photo shoot versus a show date.
That's the thing that I feel a lot of people struggle with. They are so hard on that set date and that end date. And something that I spoke about a lot before as well is that external validation, that external outcome. Like when I clung to comp dates because I felt like if I wasn't set in on a set date and I wasn't held accountable to the set date, then I won't show up for myself. I won't be there for myself. I'm not going to do the things. And that's what I feel like a lot of people who come into it without faith in themselves that they can do it, or whatever mental reason it is. There's like, I'm never good enough. I never succeed. That can have you clinging to external outcomes that don't have the substance in the process. So then you become so riveted on that. And then it's the next thing. And it just comes to a point where you don't even know who you are anymore. You don't know where you're going anymore. And you don't have that flexibility. Like Ali said this perfectly. She's like, my body's not going to respond. But people see that as failure. Like, you will never get your goal body in one fat loss phase, but so many people feel like because they aren't where they want to be yet, they're failing, they're giving up, they're not going to ever get their goals because now they're going to get fat because they're having a diet break or they're reversing. And maybe we can clear up exactly this reversing thing a little as well, because we can say it so many times, but in your head, it never makes logical sense. It should not take freaking several months to reverse you up out of a diet through maintenance. Like, maintenance. You're not like, yes, you are going to gain weight, but weight isn't fat. Weight is food volume. Weight is water volume. So I'm going to let Ali talk about that one a little and bring into the concept that you need to be okay with changing the goalposts if your body responds in a certain way. And sadly, if you're hopping on a 12-week program or hiring a trainer versus a coach who doesn't understand this stuff, and they're just like, oh no, you just need to get back on track. Oh no, you just need to keep pushing down this pathway. That isn't going to work well with your body because your body doesn't work that way.
No, I think it's so tough to, when results aren't happening at the cadence somebody wants, continuing to track your food, continuing to do the workouts, it is really hard. And it almost gets to the point mentally where you're like, what's the point if nothing's changing? The one thing we can't show clients, like physically show them, is what is happening inside their body and how their body is actually taking in the fact that you're giving it more food and rest and all this stuff. And I want people to know who are listening to this, that they think that we're kind of immune to any of the mental mind fucks that happen with weight gain. And we're so not. If anything, we are more crazy and we have more body image issues than ever before. And I made it a point on Instagram before I got kicked off for a couple of weeks, but I made it a point to know that, all right, after my photo shoot, which was March 7th, we were going into a reverse diet for me. I was going to document it because my personal goal is to add some more muscle to certain areas of my body. In order to do that, it requires to eat more. It requires me to, and gain a little weight, maybe a lot, but also allow my body to gain more muscle. You can't grow muscle without the ingredients that is required to feed it. And I think quite often we get obsessed with looking a certain way, thinking it's body fat. I say all the time, all my guys, they're like, yeah, I want to get ripped. I want to have abs. I want muscles. Cool. Maybe they're a little bit, too fat in their mind where, yeah, if we drop a little bit of body fat, you'll start to see what you look like. And then we can work on muscle symmetry. 8 out of 10 times we drop the body fat, they get leaner and they're like, I'm too small. Okay. Why do you think that? Well, because I just feel like skinny fat. And I'm like, well, you're not skinny fat. We just didn't have a lot of muscle underneath that is giving you that hard chiseled look. You've never spent an appreciable amount of time eating enough to actually build that tissue. Same with women. I personally have never, ever, Luke knows this, given any coach permission to take my calories up and allow myself to gain weight to the point where I would freak out in the past. And it's been really funny because I was like, I'm going to be transparent in this whole process. You know, as well as I do, Ruby, there are certain angles and lighting that we can manipulate to look a certain way on social. And I was like, even if I don't feel comfortable, I'm going to show these photos. Like today, I felt ginormous in the gym and I took the photo and showed it anyway. I am almost 5 kilos up from my shoot weight, but I can still see my abs.
I want to put a note onto that. This is something as well that you need to get your head around. And that's when it comes to maintaining your results, it does not mean maintaining the same weight. There is no such thing as maintaining the same weight. And the more that you cling to a number, the more that you cling to a range of whatever it is that you want to stick to, the more you are going to hold yourself back, because that is what held me back too. Like, I remember saying to Luke, I never want to get over 58. I never want to get over 58. He's like, you're going to have to push 60. And then I sent him a photo of Krista ages ago. This was like 2 years ago. I sent her a photo of Krista. I'm like, I want her ass. You do know that she weighs like 10 kilos more than you. I'm like, I don't care. I want her ass. She's like, but you won't even be comfortable getting to 60. I'm like, okay, I'll get to 60. And then I got to like 59. I'm like, okay, Luke, I'm at 59. But this was like, I clung so tight to that. And it's kind of funny because now I'm sitting around, I think like 56, 57, 58, 55, 56. Like, I hover between there. I don't even know. I weigh myself on random occasion just to see how my surplus is going. But it, like, your body is always going to change. And the more that you cling to numbers as where you're going to be happy with your body, you're never actually going to be happy, because happiness has nothing to do with the numbers. Like, why is it that you want this certain number? So
it's funny because last night I had texted Luke a screenshot of my Aura Ring data, which my readiness score was like in the 60s. He had me on this really gnarly wave loading program that, oh my God, like the loads I was lifting, I'd never lifted before. It had me feeling like I got run over by 6 trucks every single day. So it took a while to recover from that. And I had complained to him because the week after that, we went on a very low volume program, and he's like, just get used to it for this week. He extended it for another week. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do the easy program another week. He's like, shut up and do it. Cause that's how I like him to talk to me. It's okay. And so last night I texted him the Aura data and how my readiness was like in the 90s. And he said, quote, Allie, I don't want to do the easy program, Allie, 2022. And I was like laughing because it's true. But also I said, yeah, but how about Allie of 2018? I gained half a kilo. Oh my God, I need to cut. And here I am almost 5 kilos up. I would have lost my mind in the past. And the only reason I'm comfortable with it is, number one, the longer that I can keep a higher weight, the better my body will respond in the future. Let me repeat, the longer you allow yourself to eat more, the better you will respond in your next cut. And I will say, showing it on social media and not hiding it and being embarrassed and making people think I'm a fraud if I gain weight has been so eye-opening, because people are going to cheer you on and they're going to always think you look great. No matter how huge or fat or stupid or whatever we think we look, we still look better to other people because we are our harshest critics. And the fact that both men and women are so happy that I'm sharing this to show that it's normal. We do not maintain a certain body fat percentage year round because it's impossible. And actually on one of my Q&As the other day on stories, a woman asked me, what is a good body fat percentage? She was at 22. And she said, what do I do to get lower? Do I do more HIIT or do more strength training? And I loved that question because I went into what you and I had just touched on about not being attached to a number. And I said, just for example, I had asked everyone on Facebook and Instagram what they thought my body fat percentage was, because I got a DEXA right before my photo shoot. People are guessing like 6%, 4%, 8%, like single digit body fat for a woman. I mean, it's so, maybe bodybuilders, like competition. It is so rare. And I was at 15, and people think that's like obese for a woman. And I'm like, you guys don't realize like 15 is equal to 9, I think, in a guy. And I know this because Luke was deciding to have a competition with me, and he got to 9%, and he said 15 was basically equal to what he had, or 8%. And so that would be my male equivalent. It looks different on everyone. So I am now like 64 and change kilos. Somebody can be 5'3" like me, 64 kilos, and look completely different. If I had in my head always to stay at 60 kilos only, or even to get below 60, I would not be able to build any muscle mass because I'm only 5'3". And if I want any certain look, it requires to be a little bit heavier. So I encourage people to go for a look. What look do you want to achieve? Like, who cares what the scale says? I never have clients do body fat unless they want to, or unless they want to do a DEXA and they get their bone density. Cool. You know, your body fat, do it like once a year, unless you want to experiment and see if you did a hypertrophy phase or something comparative to what you did before. Luke had me do one during a diet break to show me that I hadn't gained all this fat because I had gained a lot of water. I was 17% body fat during a diet break. I was 15 before my shoot.